the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
What's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast presented by Omaha Steaks. All three of us back today. Justin, how was Disney?
It was so dope. It's just so awesome. I had a really great time. I told Josh earlier, got to meet Moana. Really just, icing on the cake. What can I say? My favorite Disney princess.
I know you said you were enjoying breakfast with the princesses, and I asked how your daughters were like, and you said they were still asleep at the room, so I thought that was kind of weird. But no, I'm
keep my secrets, bro. Come on.
Yeah.
What are we doing
We already made fun of you a lot on the other episode, so
Okay.
when it comes out, you don't have to watch it.
I can't wait.
No, I'm glad you had a good time. I got a new puppy in the last week.
Yes, wow.
A lot of big news happening in the Dawgs podcast world. So, Josh, did anything fun happen to you? Did you mow the grass or anything?
I did mow the grass yesterday. Absolutely. Yep.
I'm out
a little
way
weedy
behind.
too.
So so instead I'm doing a podcast. So I'm sure I'm getting a lot of bonus points tonight. But anyways, we got I think hopefully a fun episode lined up for you guys. We're kind of in a lull. I know OTA started out in by all accounts, the Browns offense looks different and looks good. And I actually heard a rumor out from the dog pack, and then we'll throw to it before we dive into the episode. But today we're going to kind of get into our way too early picks for NFL honors for next season, and we're even taking it a step further on some of these. We're going to call them our dark horse picks. So we're not going to pick Pat Mahomes to be MVP. That's too easy. We're going to go to people that we think might they have a legitimate shot, but they're probably on the outside looking in right now in the national media spotlight and around the league. So I think we're going to come up with some cool picks, see what you guys think about that. I think it's going to be a pretty fun episode. We're going to do Coach of the Year, Coach we think might not make it through the year. So we've got a lot of fun categories to get through. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, a good off-season episode when there's not a lot of news going on. Before we get into it, though, remember, if you want to get your intros, your voicemails on the show, head to thedogspodcast.com, tap leave voicemail. You can also find the merch store, get yourself a hoodie, t-shirt. We've got some good ones going on in there right now. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Make sure you tap the notification bell so you don't miss any of the new episodes that we're putting out. We've been doing a lot of interviews lately, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying those. We've got some more interviews coming up. Hopefully some players you guys are all going to really enjoy, and I know I'm looking forward to hopefully doing them. So make sure you guys have that notification bell tapped. You don't want to miss any of the stuff that we're putting out. It's been a really fun offseason so far. We're looking forward to continuing that. And if you haven't subscribed, just please do so. We're trying to get to that 10,000 before the football season, and we're inching a little bit closer and closer every single day. And what's actually really crazy is I just got the memory, I think it was 1 year ago or 2 years ago, where we hit 4K. And in the memory on Facebook, it was, I can't believe a year ago we were only at 1K. So that it's kind of full circle, the fact that it's gone from 1,000 to 4,000. All of a sudden we're pushing 10,000, and what's really our only third really YouTube committed year. The first year is a lot of Facebook, and we're just small fish in a big pond, and now we're just slightly smaller or slightly bigger fish and still a big pond. But we're getting there. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us along the way to help us get to this point. If you prefer to just listen to the show, you can find us on Apple, Spotify, and Google. Leave us a 5-star review on those platforms. Help us out a lot. And lastly, if you're looking for more Dawgs content, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member on the Patreon page. You get access to the private Discord, extra episode every week. You get to play fantasy football season with football with us once the season rolls around. We had a bunch of leagues last year. We've got a dynasty league that goes on all year round. The Discord's a ton of fun. A lot of smack talk when it comes to fantasy football. If you like grilling, there's grilling threads, gaming threads, movie threads. There's a ton of good stuff going on there. So if you want to hang out with us, you want to get to know the Dawgs, you want to get to know Browns fans from all over the world, not just football, just everything in general, head to jointhedawgs.com, become an official Dog Pack member. So before we dive into some of our dark horse picks and stuff, I was reading text messages earlier on my way home from work, and somebody said that Jameis Winston accidentally let it slip that Ken Dorsey was going to call plays this year. So I got on Twitter to see if anybody else was reporting it. I didn't see where he heard it from or where Jameis let it slip. But what do you guys think? I know we talked about it a little bit a couple weeks ago, I think, about who was going to call plays when Mary Kay put out her report that the offense was looking a lot different, that that Kevin was definitely at least considering letting Ken Dorsey call the plays. So what are your guys' thoughts? Like, do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? Where do you guys stand on it?
Josh, I don't know like how you feel about it, but everything that I've seen, I've just been keeping up on Browns news while vacationing, So, but everything I've seen is that the offense, Deshaun Watson, everybody is feeling like pretty comfortable and enjoying. They're really, really liking the new offense, right? So to me, when you're talking about full trust, your offensive coordinator, your quarterback, there's trust there. I'm not shocked. It's just surprising because for years we thought, oh, there's no way, coach ever turns over play calling. So I think that there is it's not smoke. I definitely don't think that there's just smoke to it.
I think the Kevin calling plays for the last 4 seasons had a lot to do with him being the offensive coordinator in Minnesota and calling plays. And I think it had a lot to do with Alex Van Pelt not having a whole lot of trust in him to take over the offense and call plays because you just never saw it. He's actually, I heard something, and I forget where I was hearing it. It was on another podcast. They were talking about how Alex Van Pelt has never been trusted to call plays anywhere he's ever been throughout his career. And now all of a sudden he's going into New England. He's going to be the play caller. So we're going to see how it actually works out this season. But I think
he'll call plays.
What's that?
That's a tough place to go call plays the first time. There's not a lot of offensive talent up there.
What do you call plays with? Yeah, exactly. So going to Ken Dorsey, I think it's a good move. I think if Kevin trusts him enough to bring him in, to let him revamp the offense, let him call it. Let him have the reins, and then you get to just manage the game. There's so much that goes into head coaching the game that we might even see Kevin Stefanski take another step in his ability as a head coach without having that burden on him. So I don't know. I see this as being a positive thing. It could definitely work out well for us.
No, I agree. And I've been a staunch supporter of Kevin calling the plays. Like, I've never been one of these people who thinks that he just needed to give up play calling. I think he's like a top tier play caller. But like you said, so much goes into being the head coach that if you have a guy that you think that you can trust and you can fully trust into calling the plays, then you might go ahead and hand it off and take that next step in head coaching. And I think it shows growth as a head coach to show the trust in somebody. And I think another thing is, in the offense we've ran previously up into this season, Kevin Stefanski's been the expert on it, on the staff. Like Alex Van Pelt might know it and stuff, but it's Kevin Stefanski's offense. Well, now it's like a hybrid, or it's, based on some of the stuff I'm seeing out of camp, it's 80% of Ken Dorsey offense, with some Kevin sprinkled in. So why would you not let Ken Dorsey call the plays if he's now the expert in it? And I guess the biggest knock, what people have said about Kevin is he's a good head coach, but his situational awareness sometimes can be not ideal. He'll call a play on a certain down or a certain time in the game, and it doesn't make sense to call that play because of the situation. And it's like, well, maybe he's so dialed in as a play caller when he's on offense, the head coach cap is off to the side a little bit because you got 35 seconds to come up with a play, get it in, get everybody's organized, get the package and the personnel in there. So now he can take a step back and be like, last year I might have called the triple reverse pass here on this play because I'm dialed in as a play caller and I think it's going to work and it should work if we execute it. But now when I'm just sitting back as a head coach and I'm just listening to people have this conversation in my headset and I'm just advising, I can say, there's 3 minutes left before halftime. Why don't we just do this instead? And then, it can be a more cohesive effort. Mm-hmm. Maybe you give up a good play call for a great play call, that kind of thing. So I think it's a good idea. If this ends up being crap and Kevin is the play caller this year, I'm not mad. Right. I still think Kevin is a very good play caller, but I think I think it shows growth, and I think it could be a good thing if we do let Ken Dorsey call the plays, especially since it's, from by all accounts, it's his offense now. I mean, it's very much a Ken Dorsey airing it out. Every video I'm seeing, it looks way different. There's motion that we haven't used in the past. So I'm excited to see what the offense looks like. I'm excited to hopefully get at the training camp at some point. And just see it for myself. I'm excited to see how it looks. But yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing for Ken Dorsey to call plays this year if we go that route. So we'll kind of move on then into the core of the episode. So I came up with this idea for an episode like a while back, just kind of thinking about, I think it was right around the NFL honors, and I started thinking about like, I wonder who's going to win stuff next year and all this kind of stuff. Maybe I was thinking about betting. So then I was like, well, what if we did an episode where we pick, MVP, but we don't pick the guy who everybody knows is going to finish, top 2 or 3 in the MVP voting. Like we go a little bit deeper. So I guess we'll just kind of start it off with the big one. Because this is the one I have in the most forefront of my mind. If you're going to pick a dark horse MVP or a guy who has a legitimate shot but might not be the front runner right now, he's got a little bit longer odds on DraftKings. Who you guys taking?
Would you like to go first, Josh?
No, I want you to go first. Let's hear it.
Okay, so my dark horse MVP winner is quarterback Kirk Cousins of the Atlanta Falcons.
That's very
dark
horse.
Yes, yeah. So I tried to like think of guys who I've watched, and I'm like, he's balling out, but then you have the element that he's coming off an injury, age, new team, maybe a rookie quarterback getting drafted, first round at pick 8. For me, if Kirk Cousins still looks like the same guy that we've seen, let's say, the last 2 years, and he goes into that offense with those weapons, man, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, they still, they picked up Darnell Mooney from Chicago, and they also have Rondale Moore, which, a speedster guy. To me, if Kirk is Kirk and he's healthy and he's the same guy, I would not be shocked at this at all. He's got weapons all over the place. That is my dark horse.
So just to give you a heads up, if you want to know how dark horse he went,
okay,
just to be, right now he is on FanDuel plus 4,000 to win the MVP.
I feel like that it is, but it's not. You know what I mean?
I think it's coming off the injury. I mean, here's the thing: at plus 4,000, go put $50 on it. You're like, you know what I mean? What do you got to lose?
$50.
I think he's got the ability for sure. At least he did, and he always plays at a high level. I just think he gets shit on for some reason, and I think if you play blind quarterback with Kirk Cousins up against a lot of high-profile, big-name quarterbacks, Kirk Cousins is either on par or better than a lot of these people's favorite go-to MVP candidate quarterbacks, at least statistically. You know what I mean? Now, some of the big game stuff, but we've talked about it a bunch of times. Wins and losses is not only on a QB. Kirk Cousins doesn't play defense. He leads the team down the field to get a go-ahead touchdown with 2 minutes to go. He can't help it if the defense then goes down and gives up a field goal or a touchdown and they lose it. So I think I've always thought Kirk Cousins is better than what like people in the national media said. MVP, definitely. That's a dark horse, Justin. I appreciate the effort there.
Well, if you like Justin's dark horse, Blake, you're going to love and I think very much hate my dark horse. But my dark horse MVP is I'll just spoil it now. It's tied to my head coach of the year dark horse, but for MVP I picked Anthony Richardson.
I just saw that on here.
Okay, what's he at?
God.
Yeah, so I was looking down here, and just as you were about to say it, I was like, I wonder if he's going to pick Anthony Richardson, and he's at plus 3,000. So he's got better odds than Kirk Cousins, which is kind of wild considering he's played a couple healthy games.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I would not have guessed that. I would have guessed Kirk Cousins was definitely had better odds than Anthony Richardson, but both guys coming off of injuries, but Kirk Cousins, I guess, probably still has maybe the most question marks, him being off in the Achilles. Anthony Richardson's kind of like in that Deshaun Watson mold. He's out there throwing like he should be good to go, recover from that injury. And I love Shane Steichen. I think he is a great offensive-minded head coach. I think that we saw Jalen Hurts kind of take the leap from being a decent quarterback to an MVP caliber season when Shane Steichen took over. So I in terms of dark horse picks, it's a long shot, but I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Anthony Richardson putting together an MVP-like season with his rushing. They've got good weapons around him. I think this offense could be sneaky good this year. They've got Jonathan Taylor coming back. Hopefully he stays healthy for them. They added A.D. Mitchell in the draft. They've obviously still got Michael Pittman and Josh Downs. I think that there's some very good potential there for Indianapolis.
So I don't think you're crazy because I wasn't high on the Anthony Richardson pick because of how he's. I mean, to be honest, he's basically mediocre in college. I feel like, at least, and so it's like I was not high on that pick, but that was before I knew just how good Shane Steichen was. You talked about how we saw Jalen Hurts take that step to like MVP level quarterback, and we saw him go right back to being. I'm not going to call him mid, but definitely not an MVP candidate as soon as Shane Steichen left.
Right.
So I think and then while Jalen Hurts was regressing, he got Gardner Minshew to the Pro Bowl, I believe. Gardner made the Pro Bowl last year, correct?
I think you might be right.
I can do that. Fact checking. Go ahead.
I thought he did, or he was like in the running.
Yeah.
Gardner Minshew had a pretty decent season under Shane Steichen, and Anthony Richardson's, a better athlete and just an overall better quarterback prospect than Gardner Minshew. I like Gardner Minshew, but so I don't think it's crazy. I think, and like you said, their offense with Shane Steichen and athletic quarterback and some of the guys, they can be very dangerous. They can be very, very good this year. So I think that's a solid dark horse pick.
This episode is brought to you by Omaha Steaks. Dog Pack Father's Day is right around the corner. So what do you give the man who has essentially everything he already needs? I mean, it's always so hard at Father's Day and on dad's birthdays and things like that. So what does this guy even really need? Well, let me make it easy for you guys. Get him steak and burgers and brats and jumbo franks and chicken and everything that Omaha Steaks has to offer, because dads want meat, and it's the perfect gift because you know he's going to use it. It's grilling season. Your dad, your grandpa, these guys, you as a dad, we're going to be grilling out all summer long. So get things kicked off the right way with Omaha Steaks for Father's Day. It's what I get my dad, my grandpa, my father-in-law every year for Father's Day, because I know they're going to use it. They love the food, and it just goes a long way. They can continue. I mean, obviously they grill out once, twice, 3 times, and they just keep using the food that you got them for Father's Day. It's the perfect gift. And right now, when you go to omahasteaks.com, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for an additional discount when you shop the gourmet gift packages for Father's Day. The Father's Day experts at Omaha Steaks are making this very easy for you guys to put a smile on the big guys' faces this summer. They've got hand-selected gift packages starting at just $89 for Father's Day. And like I said, omahasteaks.com, use that promo code DAWGS when you check out for an additional discount on your order. So don't stress, don't fret, make Father's Day easy for all the dads in your life. And if your wife or your kids are saying, hey, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? Just tell them, get me some damn good food from Omaha Steaks. omahasteaks.com, promo code DAWGS, DAWGS when you check out. Shop the Father's Day selection, all their gift packages starting at $89. And with that promo code DAWGS when you check out, you get an additional discount on your order. So don't wait. Get everything ready to go now. omahasteaks.com, promo code DAWGS. Get all the dads in your life the perfect gift for Father's Day.
All right. What do you got?
So this is the whole reason I came up with the idea for this show. And apparently he's not as dark horse as what I thought. So maybe some people are paying attention, but he's still at plus 1,400 odds. So it's not like he's like the shoe-in guy, But I immediately thought of Jordan Love whenever I thought of this idea, and I started thinking about who could maybe win the award next year. When I was watching the MVP honors, this is a guy who had almost 4,200 yards passing, 32 touchdowns, only 11 picks. His QBR was over 96. And I feel like he sort of caught fire going down the stretch, really kind of came into his own. I think they have a good offensive-minded head coach. I think they have some good weapons, especially if they can stay healthy. So I think Jordan Love has a chance, especially with his athleticism, and he doesn't seem to really feel the heat. You know what I mean? He's kind of a cool customer. It helps. I mean, he's sat behind Aaron Rodgers for what seemed like forever. It's just kind of what the Green Bay Packers do. So plus 1,400 odds, Jordan Love, don't call me Shaq. If I'm betting right now, that's who I would put a little bit of money on because you're going to get a decent payout, but I think he has legitimate shots to win the award this year if he can build on the back half of his season from a year ago. So Jordan Love is who I went with.
Yeah, I don't hate it. You want to talk about a team that can hit on wide receivers all throughout the draft. Holy crap, man. They've got a just smorgasbord of young wide receivers on that roster. It's insane, but good for them.
Who would have thought like they'd still have a good wide receiver core getting rid of Devontae Adams?
Yeah.
Right.
So that let us know what you guys think. Those are our dark horse MVP candidates. Like I said, I think Kirk Cousins is a real big dark horse. I'm not gonna lie. So we'll see.
Put your money on it, dog.
But let us know what you guys think. And do you guys have any? Leave them in the comments. So we'll move on to then Offensive Player of the Year. I'll let you guys go first. Justin, we'll just keep going in the same order.
Okay.
Who do you have for Offensive Player of the Year dark horse candidate?
So I was going to say Kirk Cousins just because I was going to keep that going with the MVP thing, but I will change it up. And I'm going to go, I think this would just be a long shot, but it wouldn't shock me at all. My Offensive Player of the Year be Marvin Harrison Jr. Focused in an Arizona Cardinals offense, going to get a lot of targets. He's an elite receiver. He's looked ready, NFL ready. So I'm taking a super long shot on that. I mean, honestly, it's a rookie. Yep. And the only guy that can compete with him really for targets is Trey McBride. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. could have a crazy big year.
That's definitely, I mean, like you said, athletically and potential wise, it's not crazy to think, but you think they'd give him Offensive Rookie of the Year, or they'd give him Offensive Player of the Year over just like Rookie of the Year? That's
I got a Rookie of the Year too, but I'm just trying to.
right.
I'm doing all types of stuff over here. I'm giving you dark horses. You asked for dark horses, dog. What do you want from me?
all right.
I mean, Puka had the best rookie wide receiver season of all time last year, didn't he? And he wasn't even in the running for Offensive Player of the Year last year.
Who was it?
Puka.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, big numbers. Got on big numbers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that he's definitely capable of it. My dark horse for Offensive Player of the Year, I probably should have gone right after you, Blake, with your Jordan Love pick, because I picked Christian Watson, the wide receiver from Green Bay. If this dude can stay healthy, and he's been working with like hamstring specialists or whatever this offseason, they said one hamstring wasn't the same as the other. I forget the whole details, but he's trying to get that crap figured out because his hamstring issue keeps pulling him off the field. But when he's on the field, the dude just puts up huge yards, touchdowns. He's explosive. He's humongous. He's a big body receiver, super fast. I just think if he stays healthy, if he's able to get out there and Jordan Love has an MVP caliber season, Christian Watson could be that main beneficiary, and he could be good enough to win Offensive Player of the Year. Dark horse, but
It's very good.
there you go.
No, I agree. If I think Jordan Love has a chance to be an MVP candidate, you'd think at least one of his wide receivers is putting up gaudy numbers.
That's right.
So it's not crazy to think. So then when I was looking at this, I thought this probably wouldn't have been a dark horse pick a year ago, but based on just the complete and total lack of usage and just irrelevance in the offense, and hopefully this offensive coordinator takes that offensive philosophy to Pittsburgh. But at plus 2,000 odds, I'm going to go with Bijan Robinson. I think he's talented enough to be in the running for this, and you got to think to Raheem Morris, like he had a plan for Bijan. Like you have to think if they took a guy that high during this interview process, they were like, how are you going to utilize the running back that we just took higher than most people take running backs? You know what I mean? So you have to think there's a plan. You have to think, especially with Kirk Cousins, they're going to run more play action, so which means they're going to have to establish the run. They're going to get him the rock. You got a 40-year-old quarterback, back there now. He's not very mobile, so you're going to want to establish the run, do all that good stuff. Plus, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, and Kirk Cousins, is going to find him. So I think he's still plus 2,000. So that's why I considered him a dark horse for this. But I think he could have a big year. I know like last year I wasn't expecting big things because of like the coach and all this stuff, but I think this year he could have a big year.
I just literally got an update on my phone like a minute ago. Falcons running back Bijan Robinson says the new look offense will be run first, like how they used Christian down there in San Francisco.
There we go. I didn't even see that before.
It just happened. It happened while you were talking.
So look at me go. It's
My dynasty team is on that one.
Yep.
All right. So now we move then to defensive player of the year, dark horse candidate. Who do you got, Justin?
I don't even think that this is technically really a dark horse candidate, but I think we kind of like always get used to the same big names up there. You always are like Myles Garrett, Micah, TJ Watt. You know, I'm going to change it up a little bit. I think a guy that has just gotten better every year in the NFL since he's been drafted. Give me Aiden Hutchinson.
I knew that's exactly who I picked.
Dark horse defensive player of the year. At the end of the year last year, he looked so dominant. I don't think that anybody could have stopped him. So I'm counting on a big year from him. Give me Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Josh.
He's at plus 1,600 on FanDuel, plus 1,000 on DraftKings.
So not really a dark horse.
He's as dark horse as Jordan Love was. Yeah. So, I mean, so you just need to get some off-season hype. So
I'd say it's dark horse.
Your leader is at plus 600 in Micah Parsons. So he's almost 3 times worse odds to win it. So that's a dark horse.
I mean, you got to figure it's Micah, it's Miles, it's TJ Watt, it's Max Crosby. It's all those guys that were finalists last year. Nick Bosa. These guys are always going to be, your favorites for this award. So, yeah, anybody else is really just a dark horse, honestly. And I picked Aiden Hutchinson, too. I mean, I think he was at 9.5 and then 11.5 sacks his first 2 seasons. I mean, it's just like he's just getting better. I really do think the line's got a good one with him.
Yep.
Did you guys hear what Dan Campbell came out and said about pressures versus sacks?
No.
No.
He just basically said, he's like, obviously, like, getting sacks is nice, but I think, like, getting pressures is almost more important because it's just, like the sacks can be manipulated by quarterbacks, but if you're just constantly pressuring the quarterback, you're affecting the offense more. I just know Steelers fans
haters
wide just
don't want to hear it.
Just lost their minds. So I thought that was super funny when he came out and said that. When I was looking at this, I went a little bit further down. This is definitely probably my biggest dark horse pick so far. I went to a guy who almost transformed a team in the way that the outlook was of a team, and definitely the way the outlook was for probably a coaching staff when they traded for this guy mid-season. And I'm going to take Montez Sweat.
Wow.
Chicago. So he's at plus 4,000 odds. And they went from the laughing stock of the league, a dumpster fire. Matt Eberflus was not going to survive this season. He had 1.5 feet out the door when they traded for Montez Sweat. And then their defense went from the worst in the league or one of the worst in the league to like a top defense. I mean, they were stout down the stretch.
Yeah, it changed.
And he was a huge reason why. So if he can put up the sack numbers and the pressures and stuff, like I think he's very, very, very good. I think he got overlooked because everybody loved Chase Young in Washington, but Montez Sweat's better. Yeah, so I like that pick. I think Chicago has a chance to be pretty good this year, depending on how their rookie quarterback plays. So I think that's who my dark horse defensive player of the year is, Montez Sweat.
To add to your thing too, Chicago, and you kind of nailed it, but they have a sneaky good defense. People completely don't even look at them like that. And I want to say I heard something that they end up finishing the year either top 10 or almost top 10 in every defensive category, some wild stat like that. So sneaky good defense.
Yeah. And they had 72 points put on them at one point in the season. That was them, right? No, that was Denver. I'm sorry. Denver ended up having a good defense.
Whatever.
Too, so
correct. Yeah, that's fair.
But the Bears were not very good defensively until they traded for Montez Sweat. So at least I think so. If there's Bears fans watching, I'm wrong. I apologize. I didn't watch many of your games. I'm just going off memory.
I watched one.
Yeah, and you lost. So that'll take us to dark horse candidate for comeback player of the year. Justin said he had a spicy one for this. We'll see if it's as spicy as mine. So go ahead.
For my dark horse comeback player of the year, I'm taking a guy that nobody in the NFL believes in right now.
I hope you're not taking mine.
A guy that his stock couldn't be any lower after last year. My comeback player of the year is quarterback Bryce Young.
Ooh.
So,
I know why. I know why you're picking that.
So there's things here. There's some things going on.
Yep.
Everybody, as soon as I talk to people about this, because I've been kind of hyping this a little bit. I think Bryce Young's going to kind of have a huge, not like an MVP season, but I think that at the end of the year, there's going to be discussion, especially like in fantasy. Like, I think he could be fringy, like a top 12 quarterback. Like, he could be a QB1 in fantasy. They added some weapons last year. No offensive line. Really, really bad. He got sacked, I think, more than any other quarterback. They added a left guard, I believe, Hunt. And then they beefed up the offensive line, and then they added Deontay Johnson, who I don't know how you guys feel about him. Obviously, he was a Steeler, but very capable wide receiver when his head's in it. And then the biggest thing for me is their new head coach, Canales, was huge in like the resurrection of Geno Smith's career in Seattle. Moved to Tampa Bay as an offensive coordinator. All of a sudden, Baker Mayfield has this kind of resurrection of a career. So he is the head coach now with Carolina, and I think that he is going to put Bryce Young in a very favorable offensive scheme situation. Bryce Young, comeback player of the year.
Nice. Okay. I don't think that's far-fetched. I think the Dave Canales effect could be real.
I think it's very real, bro. I'm very on board with that.
Okay. I was figuring out why we were being quiet is because you guys are waiting on me. My comeback player of the year, it's funny how these picks are working out. This one plays to one of Justin's earlier picks, and it's quarterback Kyler Murray from the Arizona Cardinals. And coming off it was ACL, right? Coming off the ACL last year, he came back. Forget how many games he missed during the season, but it was like at least half the season.
9. I think 9. Okay. He came back the week after the Browns game.
Okay. Yep. And then, it wasn't exactly himself, but he still looked pretty good, actually. And that offense last year was pretty much garbage. There wasn't a whole lot in terms of weapons and targets and things. And he's coming in cold halfway through the year and all that kind of stuff, but he still looked pretty good. And this is a guy who has had good seasons up until he got hurt and everything. And I think bringing in Marvin Harrison, the emergence of Trey McBride, they've got good running backs. They added more offensive linemen. They had a pretty good draft overall. And they've got, I think Jonathan Gannon might actually be a pretty decent coach.
Yeah.
Defensive-minded guy, but I think the defense is going to look better. I think this could be the year that Kyler Murray wins this award.
It's fair. I like that. I like that a lot, actually.
All right. So I went a real dark horse here. And I thought you were about to steal him the way you were talking about Bryce Young. I'm taking a guy who definitely he's low. He's got some pretty high odds against him. But I think we've seen him do it once, and I think if they adjust and they added a little bit of talent, I think we could see him have a bounce back season. I'm not saying an MVP type season, but we could see a season why he got paid the way he did. And I'm going to say comeback player of the year is Daniel Jones.
Oh no. Oh, that is dark horse.
That's very dark.
I have some things to say about that down the road.
He's at plus 2,500 odds right now. So obviously it's a dark horse. Obviously the easy pick is Aaron Rodgers or Joe Burrow. Kirk Cousins is at plus 500. But to me, Daniel Jones, his athleticism is, I think, overlooked. He can move as long as he can hold onto the ball. He had a very good season 2 years ago, which is why they paid him the way they did. They added Neighbors, right? And they brought in Devin Singletary, I think, a running back. Brian Daboll is a very good offensive coach. Basically, I thought who struggled last year, and he had a lot of injuries problems last year too. So I'm not saying there's a reason he's a dark horse candidate, but he's on the list. There's the list. Daniel Jones, what's going to shock the world is if he wins it. It's going to be like me calling the Lions over the Packers 2 years ago. If he wins this again, you guys won't hear it. It'll be 2027. I'll still be talking about it. So you heard it here first. Daniel Jones will be your 2024-2025 NFL comeback player of the year.
That's exactly what people want to hear in 2027 is more talk about Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones thoughts. Yeah.
So I just think is basically it's more like an indictment on Brian Daboll. I think Brian Daboll can make the adjustments. Daniel Jones can stay healthy, and they'll be able to. He was so bad last year that if he just has a season like he did 2 years ago, he'll be in the discussion. You know what I mean?
Hey,
So I'm not saying
you're
he's gonna
playing the
come out
game
and throw
well.
for 4,500. If he throws for 3,800 and has a 2-to-1 TD to turnover ratio, he'll be in the discussion. So, and I think he can do that.
This episode is brought to you by Manly Bands. Dog Pack, if you followed the show for a while, you know that I recently got married. I got my wedding band at Manly Bands. Now, I opted for something a little more simple, so I just got a plain, simple, gold, polished band from Manly Bands, but that's not everybody, and I'm telling you, they've got so many cool different designs and materials available. They've got bands made out of Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels, meteorites, even dinosaur bones. It's so cool. Just head to manlybands.com, check out the selection, see what they have. They've even got build your own bands if you want to make a custom style band for yourself. And right now, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, at manlybands.com when you check out, and you'll get 25% off your order. 25% is a big deal. So make sure, if you guys are looking for a new wedding band, Blake mentioned last week or two on the show that, you know, he's lost a lot of weight in the last year. And so his wedding band is a little too big for him. So he's thinking about getting a new one. And I told him, I said, just go to Manly Bands, see what they got. And the 25% off your order is such a great deal. You really can't beat it. So at least go check it out, see what they have. They've got some really cool stuff. And again, promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, if you decide to buy one, and you'll get 25% off of that purchase. If you don't know your ring size, you can order a free ring size guide. They'll ship it straight to you. You can punch out the little rings and put them on your finger to see which size fits you best. And then every single band you order comes with a free silicone ring for whenever you want to work out or go swimming or whatever you need a silicone band for. You get one for free shipped with your purchase of a Manly Band from manlybands.com. So check it out. Again, manlybands.com. Use promo code DAWGS for 25% off your order.
So that's going to take us to, I just put on here Rookie of the Year. So it can be on either side of the ball. So you can give us either one you want. Or if you have one for each, you can go ahead. So go ahead, Justin. Who do you got for Rookie of the Year?
My Rookie of the Year, and it's just so fitting that you just talked about Daniel Jones just at length and how awesome you think this comeback is going to be. I have Malik Neighbors as my Rookie of the Year, mostly because of the situation that he's going to. I think he's extremely good, and he's going to be looked at a lot as far as targets. The thing that's crazy to me is I don't think Daniel Jones is going to be the starting quarterback. I think it's going to be Drew Lock, and he's going to cook it up with Neighbors. So I got dark horse and a wild prediction for down the road. I think Drew Lock and Malik Neighbors, powerful connection. Your Rookie of the Year, Malik Neighbors.
So you want to know something crazy? Is when I was thinking about comeback players of the year, I almost picked Drew Lock.
I like Drew Lock a lot right now. I've been trying to get a lot of Drew Lock.
I almost picked Drew Lock instead of Daniel Jones, thinking Daniel Jones will get hurt. Drew Lock will come in and have a really good year with Brian Daboll and maybe be the starter there going forward, like a Geno Smith type situation.
Mm-hmm.
But I just thought Daniel Jones is going to get the opportunity, I would imagine, at first. And I'm going off of he doesn't get injured. But again, I said I made that pick because of Brian Daboll. So if it ends up being Drew Lock, I'm not going to be shocked.
Correct. Yep.
All right. Well, my dark horse Rookie of the Year. Actually, I did do both sides of the ball. I won't go into too much I'll just defensive Rookie of the Year. I picked Chop Robinson for Miami Dolphins out of Penn State, the edge rusher. I just think he's got a good opportunity there to get on the field, and I feel like they're going to be playing with a lead probably more times than not, at least early on in the season. Might give him an opportunity to kind of pin his ears back and do some stuff. But offensive Rookie of the Year, I went Ladd McConkey, wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Yes.
Because and everybody's going on, Jim Harbaugh out there in Los Angeles, and they're going to run the ball all day and play defense. But this is the modern day NFL, and a run-heavy team is still at least 50-50 pass run. So Justin Herbert's going to be throwing the ball, and they've got diddly squat to throw the ball to, aside from Ladd McConkey. I think he's going to be getting all the targets. I think he's going to have a very, very good rookie season as long as he stays healthy, but that's obviously the case for any of these picks. And yeah, I think, you got your Marvin Harrisons, you've got your, obviously, Caleb Williams, Jay Daniels. These guys are all the front runners for this type of award, but I keep my eyes on Ladd McConkey.
Bro, I like this one a lot. If you read too what's coming out of Chargers training camp, they said Justin Herbert and him have built like great chemistry. Ladd McConkey is wide receiver number 1 moving forward. I don't think this is crazy at all. It is a dark horse, but I think it's very achievable.
He's at plus 3,000. So in Malik Neighbors, I think was plus 1,800, if I read that correctly. So no, I think it's a solid pick, and I like where our head's at. We're not taking the obvious choices here on the Dawgs podcast. We're putting some thought into this. Anybody can say Caleb Williams,
right?
So when I was looking at this, my guy, I have the most dark horse guy out of all of us here based on the odds. I'm going with Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, a guy that kept falling in the draft. A lot of people were the Browns to take him. I think he's going to come into the season with a chip on the shoulder based on where he was drafted. I think he goes to an offensive system that is in an offensive head coach that is going to maximize his potential. I think like Michael Pittman is going to get a lot of attention. I think, they're going to run the ball. Anthony Richardson's going to get a lot of attention with his running ability. So I think he's going to have a chance to come out and kind of just run around and do whatever he wants, especially early before anybody, knows what hit him. So he's at plus 5,000 odds. So I like his chances. I think he's going to have a good rookie season. So hopefully I'll be right about this too. I'm gonna go back and watch this episode. And placing some futures bets.
He's having like a breakout camp too. Everybody's saying. So even more beneficial for you there, buddy.
I haven't lost any money since the Super Bowl, so I'm in the mood to just give some away. So maybe I'll go play some bets. All right, so we got 2 more categories before we wrap this up. This is going to be Coach of the Year. So who is a dark horse Coach of the Year candidate in your guys' eyes here?
My candidate is a rookie. I guess he'd be a not rookie head coach. He's been a head coach before, but a first-year head coach for the team. And give me Raheem Morris for Atlanta in a division that I don't know what we're going to get with the Saints. Carolina, I think, is going to improve, but I don't know if they're ready to contend yet. And then I just think Tampa might fall off a little bit. So I think that there's a chance that the Falcons are extremely successful this year, win the division. And so I'm going Coach of the Year, Raheem Morris.
So this is a tough one to pick a dark horse because I didn't pull up the odds until we started recording. He's actually second best odds at plus 1,300. But you wouldn't even I wouldn't have thought of that. So in these categories, the odds. So like your lowest odds are like Andy Reid, Kevin Stefanski. Like your top coaches have your super low odds. So it's hard to go dark horse candidate for this based on the odds. You know what I mean? Because all the good coaches aren't going to, not all of the good coaches, but those guys are expected to be great. So they're probably not going to be in the running for Coach of the Year. So, but I would consider Raheem Morris a dark horse.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I already alluded to it earlier when I talked about Anthony Richardson. Blake's talked about A.D. Mitchell, and I think this Colts team is going to do some things this year. I got Shane Steichen as my dark horse Coach of the Year. I think this is the year. I think we're going to see some things, and it's going to be exciting. If you're a Colts fan, if you're a fantasy fan, this is definitely, I've been talking about it all offseason. This is an offense I'm trying to get pieces of, if I can.
Sure. No, he's at plus 1,600.
Okay.
So that's a good dark horse pick. For me, when I thought about this, I didn't realize, I didn't pull up the odds until we started recording. I thought this guy was definitely a dark horse candidate, and then it turns out he has the best odds of anybody. And I was going with Matt Eberflus out of Chicago. I think if Caleb Williams, if they can get the best out of Caleb Williams, they have a chance to win a lot of games.
Yeah.
And Caleb Williams is coming into the best situation probably any number one quarterback has come into in a very long time, if not ever. Most of the time, you're coming into a Bryce Young situation.
Yep.
Depleted weapons, no offensive line, a coaching staff that's been completely turned over. Caleb Williams is coming into a staff that's now going to be going into their third or fourth season. coming into a defense that you said finished top 10 in every category. They have 3 wide receivers now who could be ones or 1Bs on most teams in the league. So as long as Caleb Williams can play like everybody says he can play, I think they have a chance to win a lot of games. Potentially, it's probably going to come down. I mean, that division went from the Lions just going to walk away with it to it might be the second toughest division in the AFC North right now with the Lions and improved Packers and improved Bears. And we'll see what the Vikings can do. Justin Jefferson's, if he's healthy, the Vikings offense is always going to probably do something. So, but I think they have a chance to win a lot of games. So he's actually the best odds right now, plus 1,000. Nobody's got great odds. He's the best. But yeah, so I thought Matt Eberflus, whenever I was thinking Montez Sweat, they're going to have a good defense. They're going to win a lot of games. I think if they can somehow win that division, he'll definitely be in the running for Coach of the Year. So
like it.
And which is crazy to say because he was, like I said, 1.5 feet out last year. It was dumpster fire halfway through that season. So, all right. So we got one more category. This isn't in an NFL honors. This is just something we came up with before we wrap it up. We did all these, good awards. And then I want to get you guys' opinion. Who is the coach that's not going to make it through the season? It seems like there's always one or two. This doesn't have to be a dark horse. It can be if you want, but just who is a coach that you think by week 8 they're gone?
So
I had a come to mind.
I don't know if this will be by week 8, but this is going to be a coach that I think most people figured would be when his trajectory started. They're like, man, this guy is going to be really tough to deal with for a while. But then had a very dysfunctional season with both of his assistant coaches leaving to go to other teams. Mm-hmm. I think the Eagles are going to fire Nick Sirianni.
He's on my.
I think Shane Steichen. It's painfully obvious that he was making that deal go. And then Ethan Gannon leading the defense. They went from a defense that had the most sacks in the league to towards the end of the season couldn't stop a nosebleed. So I think if another dysfunctional season, another season of they can't figure it out, I think that there's too much down on that team that they shouldn't be elite playoff contender every year, and he's on his way out.
Okay, I definitely had him on my list as an option. So I'm actually going to do 2. I'm going to do like a more obvious guy and then like a dark horse, which will be interesting to get Blake's take on that one. But my obvious guy is Dennis Allen down in New Orleans. I honestly don't even know why that guy's head coach. I don't know. I don't know what he. Again, I'm not a Saints fan. I don't do a lot of Saints things, but I just never really understood what he brings to the organization. But it doesn't seem to be a whole lot. So I think by week 8, you could definitely see some rotation moving around down there, and they get an interim in and all that kind of stuff. But then my dark horse, like maybe this guy doesn't make it through the season, was actually Brian Daboll, and it all hinges on Daniel Jones. And if Daniel Jones blows, and this team is like looking like they're going to be a 2 or 3 win team, maybe have the number 1 overall pick, they might just start clearing house and say, let's just start over, new coaching staff, new quarterback. You see teams do that all the time. And I think Brian Daboll's a good coach. I think he's in a really bad situation. I'm not a big Giants fan at all.
I don't think there's any way Daboll gets fired.
That's why I said dark.
They would fire. I think they would cut every single player before they got rid of him. I think he's looked at and well respected and well regarded as like one of the best, like especially offensive coaches in the game. I don't see any world in which that's very dark horse. I think they know they shouldn't have paid Daniel Jones, which is why probably Drew Lock is on this roster now. And I think if they're terrible this year and then they get rid of Jones and then they go get a quarterback for Daboll and they let him actually call plays with a quarterback who's good, and then they still only win 2 or 3 games, okay, maybe I could see him on the hot seat next year. I don't see there's any way he's gone this year. So that's a hot take. That's almost a hot take because the Giants
to that one maybe.
I mean, the Giants have been like a little bit dumpster fire-ish lately, but most of our lives, I mean, they won 2 Super Bowls. They've been, especially while Tom Coughlin there, they were pretty steady. So we'll see. The Dennis Allen one, I completely agree with. He was a name that was on my radar for this, and I just want Derek Carr to get an offensive coach one time. Just one time, can this poor guy get an offensive coach that's going to be good and stick around? Like, I think Derek Carr could have had, like, he's definitely not having a bad career, but I think his career could be on a completely different trajectory if he just didn't go to the Raiders. You know what I
That's
mean?
what people say. A lot of guys to the Browns too.
Yes. So when I was looking at this, there are two guys that came to mind. One I think could be quite likely, and another one I think because of the money and what was given up for him is not very likely. So my first one was Robert Saleh from the Jets. I think they're giving him another opportunity to come back and coach the team with a healthy Aaron Rodgers. But I also heard a lot of talk last year and this year that he basically went into his like exit interviews for the season, just like, what do you want me to do? We lost Aaron Rodgers. He basically mailed it in as soon as our quarterback got hurt. And then you got guys like Kevin Stefanski playing with 5 quarterbacks, winning Coach of the Year. It's you know what I mean? And I don't like to say that about him because like I like him. I think he's a good defensive coach. He seems like a good dude, but I feel like they did Zach Wilson really dirty. I've been on this show before. I don't think Zach Wilson would be an MVP candidate with Kevin Stefanski by any stretch, but I think he would look like a fringe backup serviceable guy who can at least look like he belongs on an NFL field if he had Kevin Stefanski. And instead you went and you hired Nathaniel Hackett. You showed no faith in the kid. You bench him and then beg him to play again. I feel like they completely ruined the kid's psyche. You heard that he mailed it in once Rodgers got hurt. I think if they come out and they struggle, I think if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt again, which I saw he pulled up lame in practice the other day, and they start off, 1-5 or something, it's gonna be bedlam in New York. I think he's gonna be on a very, very short leash. So I can see him being gone. And then another guy, I think it just depends. It could be dumpster fire season also early, but I don't think they'll get rid of him because of what they gave up and what they're paying him, is Sean Payton in Denver. Those are the two names that I thought of, and will they pull the trigger and fire him if it's not going well early when they gave up a first-round draft choice to get him?
Doubt it.
That
would be a hot take. That would be hot takey for me if you said,
yes.
I do have one. I didn't want to take it from anybody because I feel like there's potential for it too. But I think if Jacksonville doesn't figure out what's going on, and you see what they ended with continue into this next season, and Trevor Lawrence continues to regress, especially for what Peterson was brought in to do, Doug Peterson, for me, there's no excuse. There's no excuse at this point.
Is there a chance that maybe Trevor Lawrence just isn't as good as what he was supposed to be?
There's a chance.
You know what I mean? Like, Doug Peterson's a pretty good coach.
Yeah.
You won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles. He had Carson Wentz playing an MVP level, and Carson Wentz can't even stay on a team now. So at what point is it just like, well, maybe Trevor Lawrence isn't as good as what we thought? He's supposed to be the next Andrew Luck. And so, but no, I agree. But I feel like they got a decision to make. Like, they're going to have to pay Trevor Lawrence. He's playing for a second contract. I almost. If he comes out and he's mediocre this year, like, they're going to have a tough decision to make.
They're going to be in that Browns decision window like they were with Baker.
Yes, and the difference is, though, is Trevor Lawrence gets propped up for some reason, and Baker, because he was the unanimous number one, and Baker was kind of a surprise number one.
Right.
So Baker had to go out and prove himself every single time and get crapped on, and I did some of that crapping, but I watched him every week. And Trevor Lawrence can come out and not play up to that billing, and it's everybody else's fault. It's everybody else's fault that he hasn't lived up to the billing. I'll cut him some slack for the Urban Meyer stuff, but if you play 2 or 3 years with Doug Peterson, don't get it figured out, there might be some issues there.
Yeah. Well, then paying a quarterback a second contract is no small decision. I mean, you got to back up that Brinks truck if you're going to do it, and that's why the Browns did what they did, because they weren't willing to do it. So we'll see what the Jaguars.
You don't want to pull a Giants with Daniel Jones unless he's going to win comeback player of the year.
Dark horse.
But all right, well, I thought those were some good categories. I thought we came up with some pretty good stuff. Well, that's all the categories we have. Let us know if there's any more that we should have got into. Maybe we'll interact with you guys in the comments. Let us know what you guys think of some of our dark horse picks for all these. Don't come in here, especially if we cut this episode up and we put out clips and you see something that says, I think Daniel Jones is going to win comeback player of the year, and you don't put any of the context to it. Please don't be jumping in our Reels comments or whatever they are, talking about how I don't know anything. these are dark horse picks. We know that the front runners are obviously Caleb Williams and Patrick Mahomes and all these guys. This was supposed to be to mix it up, get some other guys involved.
Have a little bit of fun.
It's not a 2-person league. So we just wanted to see what we'd come up with. Let us know what you guys think of some of our picks. If you guys have any dark horse picks for any of these categories that we didn't come up with, let us know in the comments. I thought it was a fun idea. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We appreciate you guys being here, supporting us, helping us inch closer to that 10,000 mark. So as we head into the season, we appreciate you guys all being here, helping us out through a slow off season. Make sure you have the notification bell tapped. We have potentially some really cool things coming up. Again, I'm knocking on wood, and I'm not going to say it in the episode until it comes to fruition because I don't want to give anybody blue balls, but there's a chance that we're going to have some really cool stuff coming up. So make sure you guys are paying attention. Make sure you have that notification bell tapped so you don't miss any of the stuff we're putting out. We appreciate you guys being here, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.